Discover the touching moment when a city girl helps a farmer, revealing his incredible hidden legacy. It was a chance meeting. Jenna stepped off the bus into her grandmother's sleepy rural town, dust swirling around her like forgotten memories. The air was thick with the smell of fresh earth and blooming wildflowers, a stark contrast to the city's steel and concrete smell. As she blinked away her city haze, she spied a figure in the distance, a man with sun-kissed skin and hands stained by toil. That was Tom, a farmer battling the weight of despair, yet something in his eyes sparked hope. Jenna had arrived with a heart full of questions and a notebook ready to capture stories. She had left New York City behind, a world of deadlines that choked her passion for journalism. Here, in this quiet town, she felt a flicker of possibility. Maybe she could make a difference. When she offered to help Tom with the harvest, she didn't expect to find admiration blooming in her chest like the golden field surrounding them. He worked with a fierce dedication she often saw lacking in her corporate world. "Here, take this," he said, tossing her a basket filled with ripe tomatoes, warm from the sun. Juicy and vibrant, they reminded her of her grandmother's homemade sauce. "You've got to handle them gently." "Oh, I don't need any help," she started, but a gentle smile from Tom silenced her. Something about his confidence made her want to learn. As he shared tips about planting and watering, Jenna absorbed each word, her heart elevating. She realized that his labor was more than just survival. It was a legacy he fought to preserve, a testament to love, family, and perseverance. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." But as her bond with Tom deepened, whispers rippled through the sleepy town. To them, Jenna was just another city girl, an outsider unaware of their struggles. When she eventually wrote an article that showcased Tom's innovative farming techniques, the reaction was explosive. Some celebrated the spotlight on change, others cried betrayal. What had started as a connection of admiration now painted her as a villain in a story too complicated for mere words. Tom, hurt and confused, found it hard to meet her gaze. Jenna's heart tightened. What had she done? In a heated town hall meeting, she stood to speak. The weight of the crowd stares bore down like the summer sun. Friends and neighbors quarreled behind her back. "This is about more than just tomatoes," she implored, heart racing. "We need to stand together, for Tom, for all of us." But even as she spoke, a revelation erupted, tearing at the fabric of her newfound community. Questions arose about Tom's integrity. Gasps filled the air. Jenna's chest constricted. She had wanted to shine the light, not ignite the fire. Could one misguided article redefine a man's legacy, or did it risk tearing apart everything they had fought for? In that charged moment, Jenna realized this was more than just Tom's future. It was about her journey toward understanding community and resilience in the face of inevitable change. Jenna stood frozen, heart thundering in her chest as a wave of murmurs rolled through the crowd. The emotions tangled in her mind: her dedication to telling Tom's story, the fear of losing his trust, and the ache of disillusionment with the town she had hoped to embrace. She glanced over at Tom, his face a mask of hurt and anger, and felt a painful tug in her chest. "How could you let them think that?" he finally snapped, his voice low but edged with fury. The sound sliced through her, sharp and jagged. "You wrote that article without knowing what really goes on here." Jenna's throat tightened. She had wanted to help, to highlight the struggles of a man dedicated to his craft, but she hadn't expected it to backfire. "Tom, I didn't know. I thought that's just it, Jenna." "You thought. But you didn't understand. You don't know the history, the sacrifices," he interrupted, taking a step back as though she were a stranger. Memories of laughter shared while they harvested, of stories told over miscommunication and late-night fires, flashed in her mind. Her head spun as she contemplated the distance that had grown between them in the blink of an eye. The townspeople focused on their clash, excitement mixed with anger like an electric storm. Jenna's knees felt weak, the weight of their expectations pressed down on her like boulders. Yet in the midst of anxiety and despair, a singular thought echoed in her mind: I have to fix this. Please. She called out, raising her hands like an offering. I'm not here to disparage anyone. I wanted to tell a story of hope, one that shows what we can achieve together. I was wrong, I see that now. But I can do better, I can learn. The silence that followed was heavy as treacle. Then a booming voice from the back of the hall chimed in. Why should we trust you? You're just passing through. It stung, but it was fair. She could see it in their eyes, they were ready to throw her out with the bathwater. I know I'm just a city girl, she replied, feeling tears prick at the corners of her eyes. But I believe in what Tom is doing. I believe in this community. Tom shifted uneasily, his anger wavering as curiosity crept back in. Jenna pressed on, emboldened. I will work hard to earn your trust. I won't stop. I'll find ways to give back. But you have to let me in. More murmurs rolled through the crowd, but this time they were less hostile, more contemplative. Would they give her a chance? Would Tom? As the meeting wrapped up, Jenna caught Tom's gaze. It was a complex blend of hurt and the faintest flicker of hope. She took a deep breath, knowing she had a long road ahead. Could she repair the bridge her words had burned? In the days that followed, Jenna immersed herself in the community. She attended meetings, volunteered at the farms, and listened to the stories that woven through their history. With each moment, she felt a small but steady sensation of belonging blossom within her. The days grew longer, the harvest season in full swing. Tom remained at a distance, healing from scars that no one could see. But Jenna was determined. She wouldn't just write about the farmer with the golden harvest, she would show them both to the world real and unchanged. But would it be enough to bring Tom back? One fateful afternoon, as the skies began to darken and a storm rolled in, Tom approached her. Behind the anger, she noticed depths of longing and vulnerability, a glimmer of hope. Let us talk, he said, his voice steady. As they stood beneath the billowing clouds, Jenna felt her heart race. What truth would this conversation bring? What decision lay ahead for both of them? In that moment, she realized she was no longer just a city girl, she was part of something much greater. But would Tom be willing to share his legacy? Jenna's breath caught as the distant thunder rumbled, not just in the sky but in the heart of her. She stepped closer to Tom, the storm brewing above mirroring the tempest within her. This was the moment she had been waiting for, a sliver of a chance to mend what had been broken. Tom, I want to understand, she said, her voice almost drowned out by the gusts of wind that whipped around them. She was earnest, silently pleading for him to see how deeply she cared. I don't want to just tell your story. I want to help you tell it. Let me in. He ran a hand through his hair, his jaw clenched tight. Jenna could see the internal struggle written all over his face. The hurt was still there, raw and very real. But beneath it all, she sensed a yearning for connection. Helping me means understanding why this place matters, Tom replied, his voice a mix of frustration and vulnerability. It's more than just crops and hard days. It's family, history. Dedication. You don't grow up here like I have, you don't see the sacrifices people make each day. I want to learn, Jenna insisted. I want to tell your story the right way this time. Help me understand your roots, your struggles. The rain began to filter down, soft at first, a delicate caress that turned into a steady rhythm against their skin. Each drop carried with it the weight of unspoken words, their fears, hopes, and the possibilities that lay in front of them. Okay, Tom finally relented, his eyes searching hers for sincerity. But it isn't going to be easy. And you have to promise me that you'll listen. I promise, she said without hesitation, the determination in her voice igniting a flicker of something in Tom's gaze. With that, they found shelter under a gnarled oak tree, its wide branches forming a protective canopy. The world outside blurred, the chaos of the storm coalescing into a cocoon around them. Jenna could feel the air shifting. The challenge that lay ahead was approaching, but now felt a little lighter, tinged with the promise of understanding. Each story Tom shared revealed a layer of his reality she had never seen. He spoke of his father, a man whose hands were worn from toil yet gentle enough to touch the earth with reverence. He told tales from his childhood, filled with laughter and hard lessons that bled into his adult life. Timelines crossed like the roots below the surface, intertwined in ways only he could articulate. Jenna listened, hanging on to every word. She felt her heart swelling with a fuller understanding of the depth of this community. Each tale pulled her deeper, a sweet ache resonating as she recognized the threads of struggle mirrored in her own past. As the rain tried to drown their conversation, a thought struck her. Do you think they will give me a chance? The townspeople, after everything? Tom paused, his brow furrowing. They want to see authentic change, Jenna. Not the surface-level stories, but honest commitment. Something inside her settled at that. She knew she would have to earn their trust, not just with words, but with actions. Then let us show them, she replied quietly. Let us show them what a partnership looks like. Tom nodded, his dark eyes softening. Let us see if they can accept a city girl in their world. As they stepped away from the oak protectively, the storm began to ease, the sun trying to break through the clouds. With their heads high and resolve stronger than before, they emerged into the damp air, two souls prepared to challenge the heart of a town that was resistant but not closed off. But just as Jenna began to feel the pulse of promise, a figure loomed at the edge of the field, eyes narrowed with suspicion. Who was it? The tension rose, and Jenna felt a knot twist in her stomach. Would their hopes for change withstand whatever new challenge was about to unfold? Jenna's heart raced as she took in the silhouette. The figure stood tall, almost like a specter, their arms folded tightly across their chest. Rain glimmered on the ground, reflecting both fear and uncertainty. Whoever this was, they certainly didn't look pleased to see her, a newcomer who, to them, must have represented everything foreign and unwelcome. Tom's expression shifted from cautious optimism to guarded wariness. He stepped slightly in front of Jenna, his protective instinct kicking in. Stay behind me, he whispered, but there was no attempt to shield her from the confrontation. Instead, it was a warning, a hint of a storm brewing beyond the weather. The figure now stepping closer was a woman, her age difficult to pinpoint amid the shadows of the fading storm. Her eyes glinted with something sharp, something that warned Jenna not to underestimate her. What are you doing here? The woman demanded, her voice low and steady. I'm Jenna, she replied, stepping forward, drawn in by a blend of determination and assertiveness. I'm here to learn, to listen. Tom and I are working together. The woman snorted, arms still crossed. Work together? Is that what you call it? You think you can just waltz in here and understand our lives overnight? This town isn't a project for you to explore. Tom took a step back, clearly bracing himself for the fallout. Marlene, he said cautiously, but Jenna could see he was struggling, unsure whether to confront or mediate. She wants to tell our stories, Marlene, he continued. But we both know that it's going to take time. Trust isn't given, it's earned. Marlene's brow furrowed, her lips pursing tight. Then how do you expect her to earn it when she can't even see the struggles we deal with day in and day out? Jenna felt the weight of Marlene's words landing on her. She clenched her fists. You're right, she said boldly. I can't understand your lives without experiencing them. But I promise to try. For a moment, silence hung heavy, broken only by the soft patter of rain against the earth. It felt as if the air had thickened with the weight of expectations. Jenna braced herself, hoping something in that silence would shift the tide. Why should we believe you? Marlene's voice sliced through the moisture-laden air, demanding a real answer. Because I want to help, Jenna replied, her voice stronger now. It's not just about me or my goal. I want to honor your stories. I want to make sure your voices are heard, just like Tom's is the true stories, the raw ones. I have no intention to sugarcoat your lives for a pretty narrative. Marlene's expression softened slightly, but her gaze remained steely. This isn't some charity case, Jenna. We fight for our livelihoods. If you step on this land, you need to understand it. I want to understand, Jenna said firmly, her heart pounding in her chest. Show me your realities. Help me help you. The sky began to clear above them, mixing rays of sunlight with lingering raindrops. Jenna watched Marlene's expression shift, a flicker of something that resembled hope, or perhaps just curiosity. And what makes you think we'll even give you the chance? Marlene challenged, a hint of challenge in her tone. Tom's supporting presence was a steady anchor beside her. Jenna breathed deeply, summoning confidence. Because I want to share the truth, your truth, with the world. It's a commitment. I'm ready for the work, whatever it takes. Marlene blinked, and Jenna could see cracks forming in her cold facade. It was a glimmer of interest, a hint that she might just be on the verge of acceptance. But just as that moment felt within reach, a sudden noise broke through a loud commotion, voices raised, drawing attention from further out in the fields. Jenna's heart dropped. The tension in the air escalated once more as Marlene tilted her head toward the source, concern now outweighing skepticism. What now? Marlene muttered, her expression hardening once again. Jenna glanced at Tom, unsure of what this new disturbance meant. Were they truly ready to tackle the challenges ahead, or had they awakened something they weren't yet prepared for? As they turned toward the source of the ruckus, Jenna felt the stakes rise and the possibility of everything changing in an instant. Would they find allies or opposition? With each passing second, the next chapter of their journey loomed closer, and nobody knew how it would unfold. The shouting grew louder as they approached the edge of the field. Jenna's heart raced harder, every thump echoing her urgency. She felt Tom's hand on her shoulder, grounding her even amidst the mounting tension. Marlene's voice broke through the chaos, laced with authority that demanded attention. "What's happening?" she called, striding forward, determination set on her face. Jenna followed closely, the uncertainty gnawing at her. A small crowd had gathered, the silhouettes of farm workers clearly animated in their disagreements. As they neared, Jenna spotted a man waving his arms, frustration painted across his features. He was arguing with another worker whose expression was equally tense. It was a fight, a clash of temper and wills, witnessed by the watching crowd that was growing more restless by the second. "Is it about the crops again?" Tom muttered under his breath, concern etched in his voice. "I think it is," Jenna responded, feeling a flicker of anxiety. She had thought she'd arrived at a moment of potential understanding, yet now there was nothing but conflict. They broke through the onlookers, and Jenna saw the source of the confrontation, a disagreement over a section of land that had been claimed for new planting. "You didn't ask the rest of us?" the man yelled. "You can't just take what isn't yours. Everyone knows how much food we need this season. If we don't act fast, we'll lose it all." The other man shot back. Jenna hesitated, feeling the heat of the moment close in on her. This wasn't just about crops, it was about survival. These people were fighting for more than just pieces of land, they were fighting for their very livelihoods. Marlene stepped forward, asserting her presence. "Hold on. Let us not make things worse than they already are. We're all in this together," she said with a fierce calmness. The crowd quieted, eyes turning toward her. "We need to talk. All of us. Not just a few who think they can decide everything for the rest." Jenna watched, heart pounding, as faces shifted from anger to contemplation. Marlene was wielding a power she hadn't expected, and that connection seemed to knit the group together just a bit more. Beside her, Tom whispered, "This is good. It can't just be about one voice, it's about unity." His eyes shone with hope that matched the breaking light behind the clouds. But even as they stood drawn into this moment, Jenna felt an urgency to intervene. "Wait," she blurted out, stepping closer. "I know I'm new, but what can I do to help? Is there anything I can do to bring you together? To understand better?" All eyes turned to her, and she felt the weight of their scrutiny. Was she a stranger meddling in their lives? But then, Marlene nodded slightly, almost encouragingly. "You want to understand?" Marlene said, skepticism still present but softened. "Then let us dig into this. We need someone with fresh eyes. There's a lot to pull apart here." The group murmured, and Jenna felt the air shift. Perhaps Marlene recognized what they all needed, someone who could see the situation with clarity and new energy. But uncertainty still loomed. Jenna glanced at Tom, a silent plea for guidance flashing through her. "Okay, I can help, but we have to do this together. If you tell me why this matters, I'll make sure it doesn't fall on deaf ears." There was a moment of hesitation, followed by hesitant nods. They were on the brink. This could either bring them together or tear them apart further. Suddenly, from the corner of her eye, Jenna noticed a series of trucks approaching in the distance, their engines rumbling ominously. The commotion in the field seemed small compared to the potential storm that was coming in. "Marlene!" Jenna yelled, urgency creeping back into her voice. "What's happening over there?" Marlene squinted against the growing light, concern rippling through her. "We don't have time for this. Whatever's about to unfold might change everything." As the vehicles drew closer, Jenna realized the stakes were higher than she had ever imagined. Would they unite this community against a common threat? Or would it drive deeper divides? Fear mixed with anticipation in her belly. The answers were about to unveil, and Jenna could only hope they would be able to seize control of their future together. What lay ahead could either unite them or shatter the fragile beginnings they were building. The tension thickened in the air as the trucks rolled closer, their engines growling like beasts hungry for attention. Jenna's heart raced, not just from the running conflict, but from a growing sense that something monumental was about to unfold. The crowd watched, turning from the heated argument to the approaching vehicles, uncertainty etched on every face. "What do we do?" Tom whispered, his eyes darting from the trucks to the gathering group. Jenna could feel the weight of the moment heavier now, as if the land itself was holding its breath. Marlene stepped forward again, taking command of the situation with her resolute demeanor. "Listen up," she called out, her voice piercing through the tension. "Whatever is coming, we need to be ready. There might be more at stake than just our disagreement over planting." The murmurs swelled again, shifting from fear to confusion. Jenna felt the urge to calm them, to remind them that this was a moment begging for unity, not division. She stepped up next to Marlene, addressing the crowd with a steadiness she didn't completely feel. "Let us focus. We don't know why they're here yet. But if we stand divided, we can't face whatever's coming together. We owe it to ourselves and to the land." The crowd seemed to settle, though worry lingered in the corners of their faces. The noise from the trucks filled the silence, drawing closer. Jenna glanced back at Tom, whose expression spoke volumes. A silent connection flowed between them, an understanding, a shared purpose perhaps. She took a deep breath and turned her attention back to the crowd. As the trucks rolled to a stop, she made out figures moving in and out of the vehicles, shadows that seemed to darken the mood even further. A man stepped out front and center, a clipboard in hand. His sharply pressed shirt contrasted sharply with the ruggedness surrounding him. He looked official, and that alone felt alien in their world. Before Jenna could grip the situation fully, the man shouted, "Okay, folks. We need to talk about this land. This area is now designated for a development project. His words slammed into the crowd, igniting a wave of disbelief and anger. You can't just take our land. Someone shouted from the back, a familiar voice rising above the rest. The farmer who had been arguing earlier. The man with the clipboard chuckled dryly. You've got 2 weeks to relocate your crops. The company doesn't have time for disputes. Jenna's gut sank. She could sense that the argument they had barely started would pale in comparison to this new threat. The community stood on the brink of eviction. The shouts turned from anger to desperation, emotions spiraling as disbelief hardened into resilience. Wait! Jenna called out again, louder this time, interrupting the outburst. Before you act, we need to understand what they're really saying. If we're going to protect this place, let us at least hear them out. We can't make decisions based on fear alone. The crowd fell silent. The weight of her words settled among them. A few faces turned to her, confusion mixed with recognition. Marlene shot Jenna a grateful look, and for a moment, Jenna felt an electric connection to something greater than herself. This wasn't just about a disagreement over crops or land anymore, it was about a community rallying together to fight for their home. The clipboard man raised an eyebrow, surprised by her challenge. You think you can negotiate? It's already decided. Jenna met his gaze head-on, determination bubbling in her chest. No decision is final until every voice is heard. This land might be yours on paper, but it's ours in heart. So if you're here for business, you'll also have to hear our stories. She could feel energy shifting, hope surfacing amidst despair, and as the crowd slowly gathered around her, she realized they might just be on the verge of something larger. But then, as the clipboard man prepared to respond, the sound of another vehicle echoed behind the trucks. It was another convoy, larger, louder. The tension snapped tighter, and Jenna knew whatever was about to happen would change everything. What were they preparing for now? The answer could ignite a movement or place them all in peril. The rumble of the larger convoy echoed through the dusty air, drowning out the crowd's murmurs. The tension was palpable, thick as the clouds gathering on the horizon. Jenna felt her heart pounding louder, thudding against her ribcage with each passing second. She couldn't shake the fear that something fundamental was shifting, either for better or for worse. With a glance back, Jenna saw the clipboard man's demeanor change. His eyes widened slightly as the new arrivals pulled up, dust billowing around them. When the doors swung open, a group of well-dressed individuals emerged, armed with briefcases and phones that blinked with notifications. They looked far more official than the man she had just faced. Looks like we might have company, Jenna muttered, her voice trailing off. Who are they? Tom asked, his brow furrowed with concern. Maybe they're investors or something, Marlene suggested, uncertainty lacing her tone. The clipboard man stepped aside, allowing one of the newcomers, a woman with a striking presence and sharp features, to take center stage. She scanned the crowd like a hawk sizing up its prey, then projected her voice over the din. I'm Emma Collins, the project manager. We're here for the future of this land. Her words hung in the air, weighty and loaded. Jenna noticed the crowd's response shifting. Some eyes glimmered with curiosity, others narrowed with distrust. It was clear they weren't ready to swallow her smooth presentation just yet. Future? A farmer shouted from the back, his voice quivering with passion. Our future is right here, in our fields. You're taking our home. Emma held up a hand, her calm expression unwavering. This project represents growth, innovation. It's going to create jobs, improve infrastructure. Jobs for who? Another voice countered, rising through the crowd. For people who don't even live here. Agitation surged, the crowd began to swell with emotion. Jenna could barely hear her own thoughts. She took a small step forward. What if we could find a solution that benefits both sides? She offered, her voice steady but gentle. Emma turned to Jenna, her gaze keen. And what solution might that be? This project has been years in the making. We simply can't wait for people to be sentimental. Jenna felt a rush of determination. But sentiment isn't just emotion. It's the foundation of our community. It's not just about land, it's about livelihoods and history. We have unique stories here, and they matter. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd as her words struck home. Emma's expression shifted. There was a flicker of something, a possibility? Are you suggesting we host a community meeting? Hear from everyone? She appeared skeptical but intrigued, as if considering the weight of Jenna's proposition for the first time. Jenna nodded, her heart racing. Yes. Let us share what our land means to us. You might find value in it, the farmer's wisdom, the stories of this community. Change doesn't have to come at our expense, it can evolve with us. The crowd seemed to breathe with hope, a collective heartbeat that pulsed with newfound energy. The clipboard man looked annoyed but unsure, his authority suddenly fragile in the face of Jenna's resolve. Emma hesitated, clearly weighing her options. Fine, she said finally, but the timeline remains. We need to move quickly. One meeting, and then we move forward. As the word settled, the crowd erupted in a mix of cheers and hesitant whispers. This was a chance, but with every moment that passed, Jenna could feel the clock ticking down. Yet just when relief washed over her, another sound grew louder from the distance. This time it was a cacophony of sirens, the kind that struck fear into the heart. This wasn't just a simple negotiation anymore. Was their community being watched? Or would external forces come roaring in to shake everything they had fought for? Jenna's heart sank again as she turned to the crowd. We need to brace ourselves, something bigger is coming. And in that moment, the only question hanging in the air was whether they had the strength to stand together when the storm finally hit. Jenna stood at the edge of the gathering, her heart racing with uncertainty. The sirens grew louder, cutting through the tentative hope that had just taken root among the crowd. Faces around her twisted with concern as they exchanged worried glances. The threat felt real, hovering just out of sight, like a shadow lurking beyond the horizon. Do you think it's the authorities? Marlene asked, her voice barely a whisper. Or something worse, Tom added, his eyes fixed on the growing commotion outside the gates. They watched as a fleet of vehicles swung around the convoy. Black SUVs parked haphazardly, officers stepping out in uniforms, their expressions serious. For a moment, the crowd held its collective breath, a silence so deep it almost felt palpable. Emma turned to the clipboard man, her voice still commanding yet tinged with uncertainty. What is happening? Before he could respond, one of the officers approached, a tall figure with an air of authority. Ma'am, we're here to assess the situation. We've received reports of potential civil unrest. Jenna felt her stomach drop. Reports? Just what were they being accused of, standing up for their land? As the officer spoke, a murmur rippled through the crowd again, growing louder. A woman had stepped forward, her hands trembling at her sides. We're not violent. We're just trying to save our home. Her voice cracked, and her fear was palpable. Jenna watched as the officer softened his stance slightly, clearly taken aback by the raw emotion before him. I understand that, but we need to ensure everyone's safety. The farmer from earlier stepped up again, fists clenched at his sides. You see these fields? We've worked them for generations. This is our life. You want us to hand it over just because someone in a suit says it's time to modernize? The tension escalated, thickening the air around them. Jenna felt a lump forming in her throat. She had fought for their voices to be heard, and now it seemed they were about to drown in a sea of confrontation. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward again. We can do better than this, she urged, addressing both the crowd and the officers. If we have a conversation, we might just find common ground here. This is a community full of hardworking people. We deserve to be listened to. Emma looked at her with renewed determination, nodding slightly as if to say they were in this together. She turned back to the officer. Perhaps we can establish a dialogue. Before she could finish, another voice cut through the crowd. We don't want any of your fancy talks. You come here, you want our land, and you expect us to be okay with it? You think we'll just sit and listen? A young man in a tattered jacket stepped forward, his anger unmistakable. The officer raised a hand, trying to offer a calm demeanor. I understand, and I'm not here to make things worse. We just need to make sure this doesn't escalate. Can we talk somewhere away from the crowd? Jenna felt her heart race as she caught Emma's eye. They could work together, really make a difference. But the road ahead looked rocky, and she wasn't sure they would all come out the other side intact. After a moment's hesitation, Jenna spoke again, her voice steady. You heard what people want. If you want to protect this community, you have to listen. Let us set up a meeting tonight. No more waiting. The officer's brow furrowed, and the energy in the air shifted, but it was too early to predict the outcome. Jenna could feel the hesitation around her, the uncertainty of a populace staring down change. They needed to meet this challenge head-on, but the tension crackled like a live wire, threatening to snap at any moment. And deep down, she knew that whatever decision was made next would carve a path forward, one that might define their future. With a strange mix of dread and determination, she wondered, would they find a way to unite as they faced what loomed in the shadows? Or would the storm tear them apart, leaving broken dreams in its wake? Jenna could feel the tension in the air, thick and suffocating like a heavy fog. As she stood with her arms crossed and her heart racing, the faces of her neighbors were etched with worry. Emma positioned herself at Jenna's side, her presence a silent promise that they would navigate this together. The officer on the front line, a man with steely blue eyes, glanced at his partners as if gauging their next move. His grip on the radio was firm, a reminder of the authority he wielded. We have to respect procedure, he said, his voice just above a whisper, but loud enough to carry through the crowd. I assure you, it's a matter of safety. Marlene stepped closer, her instincts kicking in. Safety from what? We're not the ones causing trouble. Her words rang in the stillness, drawing nods and murmurs of agreement from those nearby. Talk all you want, another man spat, his voice breaking, but it won't change what a suit decides. We're not pawns on a board, you can't just move us around. He thrust his chin out defiantly. Jenna felt the chaos rising around her, but she needed a plan. They couldn't allow fear to step in between them. Their home, their fields, their people depended on it. What if she started, her voice slightly trembling but growing steadier as she continued, what if we arranged this meeting? With them. Us. Together. The officer looked at her, an unreadable expression crossing his face. A public meeting won't change anything if threats loom over your heads, he said cautiously. Then let us address those threats. We can find solutions, but we have to be given a chance, Jenna replied, feeling embers of hope ignite in her chest. She could see Emma nodding vigorously, supporting her through the silence of the crowd. A tense silence followed. The murmurs of the crowd built and ebbed like waves crashing on a shore, enthusiasm mingling with worry. Finally, the officer let out a long breath, dropping his hand to his side. Fine. I'll speak with the chief and see what can be arranged. But I cannot guarantee safety. You know how emotions run high. Jenna thought of the stakes. She locked eyes with Emma, who offered a small smile, lingering with encouragement. A sense of unity pulsed through the crowd, more people stepped forward, emboldened. Just then, a little girl tugged at her mother's sleeve, wide-eyed. Mom, will they hurt us? Jenna's heart sank. How could she assure that young girl, who seemed to carry the weight of the world on her tiny shoulders? No, she said, kneeling to meet the girl's gaze. We're standing together for our home, and we're all stronger when we stand united. The little girl's face brightened. Together? Yes, Jenna affirmed, glancing back at the grown-ups encircling them. They had to believe it. They had to be the example. As moments passed, the air felt charged. One voice after another reiterated support, hearts swelling with a mixture of anxiety and newfound resolve. But even as a few soft cheers erupted, Jenna couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was at play, like an approaching storm she couldn't quite see yet. Everyone quieted when the officer nodded, signaling to his colleagues to make arrangements. The crowd held their breath in anticipation, but now Jenna sensed a shift, something fragile yet powerful. Finally, with a lingering hesitation, he turned back to them. "All right, we'll meet tonight at the community center. But be warned, decisions won't come easy. Chains of the past don't break overnight." Jenna felt a collective shiver of understanding ripple through the gathered neighbors. "Nothing worth saving ever does," she whispered, feeling the weight of those words hang heavy in the air. As people began to disperse, Jenna remained, collecting her thoughts while Emma stood steadfast beside her. Flashes of concern ran along the back of her mind, dread nudging her heart. What if they worked hard, only to feel the ground crumble beneath them again? With every hope clenched tightly in her hands, she turned to Emma, their eyes searching for reassurance. "Do you think they'll really listen?" Emma nodded. But there was a hint of uncertainty reflected in her gaze. "They have to. We just need to show them it matters." Yet Jenna's heart couldn't escape the clenching fear that took root again in her chest, the fear of losing everything they fought for. And as they looked out toward the horizon, dark clouds hung in the distance, fading light painting an uncertain picture ahead. Her breath hitched as she took a step back, uncertainty clawing at her. Tonight we have to be ready. What would they uncover in their meeting? Would it shatter their dreams, or could it unite them? The night stretched ahead like a deep chasm. And somehow, she knew, they were all standing at the edge ready to leap into the unknown. The community center buzzed with energy as townspeople began to gather, their faces reflecting a mix of anxiety and hope. Jenna arrived early, her heart racing with anticipation. She felt like a tightly wound spring, ready to release, ready to embrace whatever was about to unfold. Tonight was about more than just a meeting, it was about the essence of who they were. Tom stepped in alongside her, his expression solemn yet determined. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, a hint of worry threading through his voice. "I have to be," Jenna responded, looking around the room filled with familiar faces. "We all do." As people settled into their chairs, Jenna caught sight of Emma, who was busy arranging a few last-minute details at the front of the room. The officer from earlier stood near the entrance, his presence a stark reminder that the stakes were high. Once everyone settled, the atmosphere thickened with unanswered questions and unspoken fears. Marlene began the meeting with a deep breath. "Thank you all for coming. Tonight isn't just for us to air grievances, it's a chance to unite as a community." Her voice carried the weight of experience, and Jenna could see the tension ease slightly among the crowd. "I know that change can feel like a tempest, but we cannot let fears divide us." Emma jumped in, her enthusiasm palpable. "Change has come knocking at our door, but we can choose whether to answer it wanting to fight, or we can choose to find a way together." The murmurs in the room became quieter, a collective stillness wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. For the first time, Jenna felt a flicker of unity rising among her neighbors, igniting hope where despair had once taken root. Tom took his turn to speak, his words firm but laced with vulnerability. "Let us lay it all out on the table. This isn't just about land or jobs. It's about our legacy. The life we've built isn't just in soil and crops, it's woven into each one of us." His voice echoed in the room, drawing emotional nods from the audience. Jenna felt tears prick at her eyes, each voice was a thread stitching their community back together. The officer from earlier watched intensely, taking in every word. When the crowd finished voicing their thoughts, Jenna knew it was time to step forward. We need to learn from each other, she said, her heart pounding as she spoke from a place of passion. I came here seeking a story, and now I realize I'm part of this story, too. We all are. A woman from the back stood up, her hands trembling. But what can we do? They're just going to bulldoze everything. Her words hung heavy, reflecting the fear that still lingered in the room. That doesn't have to be our reality. Jenna replied, feeling emboldened. Let us gather our voices, our histories. We'll create a petition, reach out to local, state whoever we need to show that our town isn't just land to be developed. We have to prove how much we care. A low murmur followed as people began discussing the feasibility of her suggestion. The officer straightened, intrigued and visibly surprised by Jenna's boldness. An organized petition could make your claims stronger, he admitted, still cautious. Exactly. Jenna continued, fueled by the momentum churning around her. We've done the work, let us articulate what we've built not just as farmers, but as families, friends. We aren't just a statistic. And just like that, the room burst into a flurry of ideas and voices, hearts intertwining in an electrifying harmony. Every person spoke, old and young, sharing the fabric of their lives and dreams. Thoughts swirled around the room, growing louder with conviction and energy, channeling their fears into actionable plans. Minutes turned into an hour, the conversations flowing with urgency. The officer's countenance softened as he witnessed the community rallying before him. Before long, the time came to wrap up the meeting. As Jenna looked around, she felt a catch in her throat, the weight of unity surged through the room. Yet, she noticed a new tension in the air. The faith in their hearts was palpable, but the uncertainty of how they would face the oncoming storm still hovered over them. Marlene stepped forward once again as the meeting drew to a close. Tomorrow we start fresh. We gather signatures, we spread the word. We fight for our home together, she declared, stirring an appreciative nod from the room. And I trust in this community each one of you is essential in shaping our future. As they began to exit, Jenna lingered, feeling a rush of gratitude. For the first time, she sensed ownership in a shared purpose, the ability to create something that mattered. Tom fell into step beside her. You did good tonight, he said, a genuine smile spreading across his face. Thank you for believing in us. Jenna beamed back at him, a warmth washing around them like dawn breaking. I couldn't have done it without all of you. They left the center hand in hand, their hearts swelling with a resolve that promised not just survival but a beautiful rebirth. Walking into the night, with shadows dappling the ground beneath them, Jenna absorbed the laughter of children and the stars beginning to speckle the sky. The wind rustled through the trees like a tranquil whisper. That renewal renewed her spirit. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they moved toward home, Jenna felt more than just a sense of belonging, she felt hopeful. Hopeful that the roots they planted, nurtured through courage and unity, would rise strong against any storm. She paused to look around, the field sprawling before her, filled with richness and possibility. This was their moment, and no matter what came next, they had each other. Jenna glanced at Tom, gratitude illuminating her heart. Let us show everyone what we're made of, she said softly. And together, they would plant seeds of change, cultivating a legacy full of life ready to bloom in the sunlight of their undying commitment. Now more than ever she realized hope wasn't just a feeling, it was an action. Before she fell asleep that night, she had one last thought: today was just the beginning. This is your moment to join this community of heart and hope. Don't wait. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss another transformative story. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support means everything. Comment how this story made you feel, and share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to experience this journey. You need to be part of this amazing community. Show your support today.